Hello there, I'm Robert McKay. What am I trying to, some years ago on, it was either Dancing with the Stars or America's Funniest Home Videos. Tom Bergeron was hosting both at the time. But whichever one it was, he said, this is that, this is that, and I'm still Tom Bergeron. Then there was the original Saturday Night Live, the good one, where it comes the weekend update. Hi, I'm Chevy Chase, and you're not. One time he said, hi, I'm Chevy Chase, and I hate your guts. Then Bill Murray, boy, am I faced. This, before I get too weird and wander off along these little bitty pathways out into the rabbit country. Yes, I'm weird. If you hadn't figured that out by now, you obviously have not watched any of my previous videos. This is going to be Sippin' and Talkin'. Last night I recorded what I thought would be the only video I was going to do on the subject of how people talk these days. Well, while I was at work, things that I didn't mention in the other video came to mind. You can't read it unless you can read, well, between the ink and the light and the paper, I don't know if you could read it anyways. But you probably couldn't read my writing. Let me show you my writing where you can see it. That's my writing. You can't read it, but I have a list of things that I didn't mention in the previous video. And so I've written them down, and I'm going to see how far I can get through the list. Now this might be part 1. It might be part 2. It might be part 25. Although I don't think it'll go that far. And the reason that it might be more than one part is I record these, they're in the can, then I randomize them, and whatever comes up first is what I upload comes the time. And so, unless I'm doing a specific series, which I'm not here, I don't upload them necessarily in the order in which I recorded them. This is Sippin' and Talkin', and I've got the Four Roses single barrel here. It is the OBSF recipe, and Four Roses has 10 recipes. All 10 go into their 80 proof bourbon. 4 of them, as I recall, go into their small batch bourbon. And then they have the single barrels, and each barrel is one of the 10 recipes. And until recently, they hadn't been doing it, but the past 2 or 3 years, they've been releasing 1 or 2 recipes a year. And there. If you've watched my videos before, you know that this is indeed a thoroughly amateur deal. And my setup, I'm at the kitchen table. The doorway behind me goes in the living room. Over here's the stove, the refrigerator behind me. Here on the table, there's a slab of marble. I don't know if you can hear it. And on the marble, I lean my camera up over here. I have what I call my platform here to set the bottle on, so that you can see the label. And I set the glass up there because, as you can see, that's how I can tell what level it is. Otherwise, I'd be doing this, and that wouldn't look too swift. But I do want to get to the actual subject on which I want to talk. I'm already 5 minutes in, and I haven't gotten to it. So I'm not going to talk a whole lot about the whiskey. You can tell I like it though, because look at the level. I got this back in September. And the reason it's lasted so long is I go through a rotation. I don't just grab whatever bottle I want to drink. And so each one gets a glass a night. But how people talk. Get this over here where I can see it. Okay. One of my pet peeves. The people turning a terminal MS sound into an MPS, or turning an NS sound into an NTS. You have the word home. Until the past 30 years, everybody pluralized it by saying homes. Now, I think I'm about the only one who does not say homes. What's a home? I know what a home is, and the plural of that is homes. But if the plural is homes, what's a home? Because that's a singular. But people are doing that. They do it with drone. It used to be drone, drones. Now, drone, drones. And of course, as I said in the other video, it has to do with people talking too fast. If you slow down and talk at a human rate of speech, then the words don't get chopped up. They don't run together. You don't have to clip everything. You can say them properly. But if you're talking so fast that you can't even say drones right, slow down, folks. Then you'll be speaking English again. This is a high rye recipe. I don't know what the mash bill is. People who know these codes know what OBSF is. But I guarantee you it's a high rye, because if I was drinking this blind, I would probably think it's a rye whiskey. It has rye notes on the nose. And it has rye notes on the palate. And stand by one. I'm not going to pause it, but I'll be right back. Una lata de Coca-Cola. A can of Coke. I don't know a lot of Spanish. It doesn't take me long to run out. But what Spanish I do speak, I have a Chicano accent. Almost left that in the freezer too long. It can be 75 below outside, and I still want my Coke and my water literally ice cold. So, humps, drunks. How about you go to a garage sale? Sale, long A. Except everybody today calls it a garage sale. You hear these dumb car dealers. Well, that's redundant. I don't know that there's any such thing as an intelligent car dealer. But they don't call it a sale anymore. They call it a sales event. Now, an event is a one-time thing. It doesn't go on for a month. So they're using the word event wrong, for one thing. And by the way, they're calling it an event. No, it's an event, not an event. But they call it's a sales event, but they're calling it a sales event. Now, sale and sell are not the same word. S-A-L-E means that you're selling something. It's where you have all your widgets and gadgets and whatnot on the shelf, and you mark at least some of the prices down. You'd think I'd been ready already. I know allergies are going to come. And you sell them for less than the normal price to get business in. At a sale, you sell things. It is not true that you sell things at a sell. It's a sale. But people are calling it a sell. People don't know how to talk anymore. Having to reach around my glass here. I could put the glass over here, but that is not how I do things. In a few months, I have established traditions, and you know what a tradition is? It's when somebody stands up in the business meeting of your local country Baptist church and says, "We've always done it this way." And yes, I'm making fun, but I have seen that happen. Somebody comes up with an idea. Maybe it's a good idea, maybe it's not. Maybe it would be better the new way, maybe not. But instead of arguing the merits of the idea, there are people who will stand up and say, "I'm against it because we've always done it this way." You know, at one time, everybody had always walked to where they wanted to go, and then come automobiles. We going to turn down cars just because we'd always walked? I ain't, although I do like to walk. But you come to the word steal. That can be the metal. It can be the act of stealing. Except nowadays people call it still. Now you can build a still out of steel, but you cannot build a still out of still. But people are saying they come in here and they still things. He's building a building out of still. No, it's steel. It's a long E sound, but everybody's doing a short I. When all else fails, fake it. Boy, that is a very rye-y. It's a bourbon, but I swear it would convince me it was a rye if I didn't know better. Okay, want to talk about pet peeves? Let me give you in fact, let me just make up an example of this pet peeve, and then I'll explain what I'm doing. This is it's a bourbon whiskey, and it's from Four Roses in Kentucky, and so it has to be at least 51% corn. Now, if you've watched even this video so far, you know I don't talk like that. Last night, I attempted to watch a video on why Bunny Carlos is no longer the drummer for Cheap Trick. And I've wondered about that. The band has never really said anything. They just said Bunny Carlos is no longer the drummer. He's a member of the band, but he's not playing with us. And Rick Nielsen's son, the guitar player, his son is the drummer now. And they had a producer on there. I believe it was Tom Werman, I'm not sure, W-E-R-M-A-N. And that's how he was talking about Cheap Trick. He had produced at least some of their albums. This was his profession. He's an expert on it, and that's how he was talking about the members of the band. If you cannot utter even one sentence without you shouldn't talk. Get articulate, for Pete's sake, people. If you have to hunt for every third word, you don't have enough vocabulary, or you don't have enough intellect, or both, to talk. You need to go back and either learn English or learn how to use your mental equipment before you open your mouth. Another pet peeve I have is what they call talking up. And, I'm going to take a drink of Coke. Turns everything into a question. More than that, it sounds like you're not at all confident either of what you're saying or of your position with regard to whoever you're talking to. It sounds like you're a little kid called into the principal's office, trepidatious that you're in trouble and you have no idea what you're talking about. That's how it sounds. And I believe it was in one of John McWhorter's books. He's a linguist who writes interesting books, although I've found more than one thing on which I disagree with him. I think he's a spouting academic balderdash rather than actual practical reality. I think it was John McWhorter who said that talking up is just a vocal tic which has the purpose of getting others to respond. It's there to elicit a response. You know, bananas are yellow? Uh-huh, uh-huh. You're supposed to go, uh-huh, uh-huh, or somehow otherwise indicate you're listening every time somebody speaks a sentence. If that's the whole point of this talking up, as they call it, then it is the most asinine piece of crap I ever ran into. And I think I'll take a sip of whiskey. But a lot of people do that. And it seems to be mostly women who do it. Don't ask me why. Men and women aren't necessarily as different as some make out, but absolutely men and women are different. Not just physically, not just genetically, but also in the way our minds work. And so there apparently something in this up-talking appeals to a lot of women. It's tempting to say, well, women aren't as smart as men. But my wife is at least as smart as I am. Our daughters are smarter yet. And our granddaughter, I don't know what her IQ would come out as, but as far as I'm concerned, she's a genius. Okay, we had the talking up. There's what they call vocal fry. It's where as you come to the end of a sentence, you go raspy. And I can't do it real well. Again, I hear it mostly from women. You know, would you like a glass of bourbon? I can't do it. It's this raspy, grating thing. And if talking up sounds like you're absolutely fearful of the situation, and if the thing sounds like you don't have a clue what you're talking about, this vocal fry sounds pretentious. It sounds, and I suspect for a lot of people it is, but it sounds like an affectation. I need to talk this way, so I'm going to talk this way. And you can't tell me fashions don't come and go in the way people talk, because I've seen it. It wasn't that long ago, as recently as the 90s, if not more recent, when you heard teenage girls all talking like this, and now they're grown up and they're not talking that way anymore. They're talking some other way. It was an affectation to be breathy and light-voiced. It's kind of like Elizabeth Holmes, and I don't know how to pronounce the name of her company, Thanaros, whatever. She turned out to be a real con lady, good-looking woman, and I'm sure she played on that. But she artificially deepened her voice, and I like a deeper voice on a woman. I don't like a squeaky voice. I don't like it up there. My wife has, I'm not a musician, but I think you'd say it's a contralto voice, speaking and singing. It's lower than a lot of women's, and for her it's natural. And it seems to me, as a side note, based on what little I've heard, that seems to be fairly common among Korean women. Maybe it's something the language does to the way you speak. because the language affects how your voice sounds. Cuando hablo español, mi voz no es el mismo de cuando hablo inglés. It's not a big difference, but when I speak Spanish, my voice, without me trying to do anything, is somewhat different from when I speak English. I don't know if you could hear it there. And I can speak Spanish a lot faster than I can speak English. I have to physically work to speak English fast. With Spanish, I'm still not as fast as a native, but I'm faster than English. But you get that vocal fry, and it sounds like an affectation, like you're putting on a front, like it's phony. And in some cases, I'm sure that it is. And I'm actually going to be able to finish the list because we're just over 21 minutes. There's what I call screeching. It's a piercing voice. It's high-pitched, even artificially so. And I can't really reproduce it. I don't have a female voice. Wait a minute. You mean when they assigned me male, it altered my voice? Oh, some of the nonsense out there. This isn't a political channel, but genetics aren't political. They're scientific. They're facts. They're one or the other. And I'm not going to play games with them. You get these women, and this is what really replaced the breathy voice I was talking about earlier, is that high-pitched, squeaky voice. I don't remember which Bee Gee it was, Robin, I think, but I'm not sure. But one of the Bee Gees, around the time of disco in the mid to late 70s, found that he could sing on pitch, carry a tune in a falsetto. And you hear that in some of their music, like Tragedy. As a song winds down, they're going, tragedy. And whichever one it is in the background is going, ah! I mean, it's got to be 2 or 3 ledger lines above the staff. L-E-G-E-R, ledger lines. I only know that term because I'm a sacred harp singer, and occasionally one part or the other will go up to one ledger line. And then the one pitch in the music has to really pitch it low so that part can hit the high. But you get these people, and again, this is women, and I'm not trying to pick on women. All of these affect women. Some of them seem to affect women more than men. And again, men and women are different. We think differently, so what men find attractive as far as fashions go, women won't necessarily find attractive. Which is another reason to thumb your nose at fashion. Male fashion may appeal to men, but what if your wife thinks it's ugly? What if all the women in the world think it's ugly? What do you care more about, fashion or a woman you love? Well, if you love her, the answer's dead obvious. And I keep chasing off and digressing. Rather than risk doing it again, I'm just going to say I'm done with the list. People today do not talk the way they did 30 years ago. Now, not everybody sounded Texan 30 years ago. I didn't always sound Texan myself. I'm not going to take the time now, but I can tell you, I did not try to sound this way. It wasn't deliberate. It come upon me. And I finally quit fighting it. But people used to talk more or less as I do now. They might have had better grammar than I usually do on these videos. They might have had better diction. They might not have sounded Southern at all. They might have had a Yankee accent of some sort, like Boston or New Hampshire, or like Lawrence Welk, who was from North Dakota. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. We're now going to... I can't even do it. I can tell that already. You know, they might have had varying accents, varying regional characteristics in their speech, but they didn't talk a mile a second. They didn't run words together. They didn't hammer on the consonants. They didn't chop the vowels and change the sound. The way people speak English has changed in these past 30 years. And I'm not a linguist, so I don't know what's going on in the world of linguistics in their learned journals and their books and whatnot. But I seem to be the only ordinary person who's noticed. People who have lived through it, who themselves have changed how they talk, seem not to remember that 15 minutes ago they weren't talking like this, or that, or whichever word is the best. And I understand that language changes, but when the same person speaks one way here and then deliberately changes until over here he's speaking in a distinctly different way, that's not natural. That is blind, limbing adherence to stupidity. And before I offend too many people, you may have noticed, I'm not trying to offend anybody. But at the same time, my views are my views. And I'm sure occasionally they do offend somebody. That's not my intention. I'm not trying to drive you away, but if you don't like the way I run the channel, you are free to unsubscribe, or at least not watch. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Please click like, all the usual stuff. I don't say it every time. And holy criminy, I'm coming up on 28 minutes. I thought I was going to be done by now. Tupshida.